It's Maximum News. I'm your host, as always, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin, Max Derrat, and I am joined, as always, by...
Sybsidian of the Triple S League. How
Yes,
you
I'm
doing?
pretty good, man. I didn't tell you, in case... I'll just sort of clarify for people that are watching this. We normally record at around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. We're recording this about an hour and a half later, but I have a very good reason, and I haven't told Saib why I needed to do that today. But it is relevant to sort of this, the gaming stuff that we talk about on this podcast. So, Saib, I went to go see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes tonight because it was
Yes.
literally the only time that I had in the past few days to really be able to do anything. And normally, whenever I finish a video, which I have a video coming out tomorrow on my personal channel, it's going to be on the game Persona. Whenever I'm done a video, I sort of made it part of my routine to go to a movie theater and just sort of turn my brain off for 2 or 3 hours, right? So I went to go see Kingdom. And the reason why this is relevant to gaming is because, in case you guys who are listening didn't know this, the guy who directed Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the guy who has been tapped to direct the upcoming live-action Legend of Zelda movie. Now, after having seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I can confidently say that not only am I very excited to see what he does with the Legend of Zelda movie, I'm going to say that he's probably one of only 2 or 3 people in the business who could actually make it work. And it's because what he did with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it showed me, it gave me the promise of a vision that I could imagine him having for a Legend of Zelda movie. He's talked, like, he's given a couple of interviews on the subject already, and he said he sort of wants to do it like a live-action Miyazaki movie. And in case people don't know who Hayao Miyazaki is, he did movies like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, a whole bunch of really famous Japanese anime movies. When you watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you sort of get a little bit of that feel in that movie, just with the way that he frames his shots and how he just lets the visual speak for itself without using any dialogue for a significant portion of it. It's absolutely breathtaking. And I can totally see in my mind what he plans on doing with the Legend of Zelda movie, and I cannot wait. And best of all, Saib, based on stuff that he does in this movie, I think there's a really, really interesting way that he can make a Zelda movie without having Link talk. Seriously. Because even though there's a lot of dialogue in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, there's a minimal amount where I could see a guy as talented as Wes Ball being able to just have one character when he says nothing at all and just has everybody else carry the dialogue forward. I literally just got out of seeing it like less than half an hour ago. I'm still compiling my thoughts, but those are my general impressions. Saib, does me telling you this make you any more excited for the Zelda movie? And also, have you seen any of the more recent Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movies?
So the Planet of the Apes movies it's kind of funny that, well, I guess not really. So I just watched a whole synopsis on all of the previous movies. And
Since Charlton Heston, or which
no,
ones?
all of the
All of
previous
them.
movies.
Okay.
Did you know that there's a theory that what we're seeing is just it's a terminal loop that happens in the universe? And I don't know if I haven't seen the latest movie, so I don't know if they're setting anything up. But right now, you can watch the movies, all of the ones up until this most recent one, and I haven't seen it, and I haven't been able to deconstruct it. But the previous movies, you take all of the ones, even the old, crazy ones, and you can. It's a paradoxical loop where the beginning feeds into the next, that feeds into the next, that feeds into the next, and then goes all the way back to the first film again. And it just keeps on repeating itself. And every time they repeat it, the Earth gets destroyed. And it's just this loop, this never-ending loop, and that is a reflection of like the what happens if people don't move past the hatred and the desire for winning by military force, and it's a very interesting concept. Like it's very interesting concept, and I never quite knew until I watched um this like YouTube video on like somebody showcasing all of the points of lore, pointing at how they actually do connect from the old films to the new films,
Mhm.
and how you can sit there, you can watch it all, and it does make a coherent sense. So I'm not sure if this is what has happened with this newest film. So yeah,
Well, I won't say one way or the other just to
yeah, no
not spoil
spoilers.
anything, but I would be really curious if you could send me that video because I would really like to check it out. Although maybe what I should do before I see it is actually see the movies that came out before Rise of the Planet of the Apes because I never saw the original one with Charlton Heston or any of the ones after that, and I certainly didn't see the one that Tim Burton did. But
Yeah.
it's an interesting theory.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is. I like it when theories. I like it when large scale things like that where they can actually fit together. Um,
sure.
a lot of people hated the Star Trek thing where they changed the way that
Oh, I dug
the
that.
uh,
I dug
the
that.
crap. What's the Klingons, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you're looking at old Trek, so everything before Discovery, um, the Klingons had a set story and a set path that totally made sense, even with like going back and how they looked really human back in the original Trek days, and then how they changed and shaped. They explained everything,
Mhm.
and it was so cool. And then Discovery came out and was like, "Yep, stupid 20-year-old, continuous or sorry, 80-year-old continuous lore. Pff, who needs that? Let's just rewrite stuff." Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
Right. Well, fair enough. That's one series that I know I need to get into at some point in my life, but I haven't, which is Star Trek.
Mhm.
But anyway, I would highly recommend those side. If you have any interest in Zelda or the upcoming Zelda movie, you really need to check out Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. You will, I imagine you would see the same stuff that I would see and be like, my God, this guy's going to direct one hell of a Zelda movie.
I really do hope so, because Zelda is one of these things where it's like a sleeping giant, as far as like the potential for story and content and
Hmm.
whatnot, because you got so much there. This coming from a person who did watch the original Zelda animated series,
Mhm.
which was which is now, looking back on it, really terrible. But
Hey, hey,
when
hey,
you
excuse
were a
me,
kid, no,
son.
no, 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 no. When you were a kid watching that show, I was like, this is the best thing ever created ever. This is the best
Sure.
animated series ever. And then I watched Kill la Kill and I went, oh yeah,
There's a whole world of cartoons out there. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
yeah. It's one last thing I'll just say on this before we move on. Zelda, the way the stories of those games are structured is very like baseline archetypal. Like you have the bad guy, you have the princess, you have to go rescue the kingdom and all that. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is very, very archetypal, like follows the pattern of the hero's journey, but in a way that's not like cliche, but actually really makes you appreciate why those archetypes are a thing. And I imagine that Westball has something really, really special planned if he sort of takes that ethic that
I
he had with
I
Kingdom and puts it into the
I
Zelda.
hope so.
Yeah.
I do have one thing that I'm not positive of, and that is because it is I don't think it works. I legitimately don't think it works. I think that it could work for like one movie once, maybe, if you had the right setup, scenario, and circumstance for it. But the silent protagonists, where they never say anything,
Yeah.
don't actually work. Like, from a narrative standpoint of telling a story, there is a large amount of like separation of logic in the viewer to find a protagonist who says nothing
Hmm.
yet manages to like stumble around. It's the same level of it's the same level that you would have when you watch a Weekend at Bernie's,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
Like the you have to believe that everybody's insanely stupid to treat a guy who's dead like an actual living, active person. It's like and I get the idea, and I get, because this isn't this isn't the only one. Obviously,
Mhm.
we have we have a lot of other stories that are similar to this. Obviously, you got Half-Life, and you got Portal, and you've got, a bunch of other stuffs, and everybody likes this idea of a silent protagonist who never says anything.
Yeah.
They can walk into a room, and then people will talk at them for 20 minutes and go, I know exactly what's going on and what you need and what you want, and you agree with me. Here's the weapon to end humanity. Here you go. It's like that. It doesn't actually happen. It's
Mhm.
from a writing standpoint. If you're trying to like turn it into like a show or something, it'll get bad really fast.
Yeah.
It only works from a gameplay perspective because the things that are running through your mind are taking the place of the player's mind, is taking the place of the actual dialogue.
That's right. Yeah. And dude, everything you said, I agree with. And before seeing this movie, I would have said 100%. I absolutely think that Link should have to talk for all those reasons that you said. But after seeing this movie, the apes, very often, because they're not evolved to the point like humans where they're able to speak in long form flowing sentences, there's a lot of silence that goes on in this movie because of that. And just what he was able to do with that without any dialogue, but just try to make whatever he can visually to tell a story. It makes me think, maybe there's a chance. Now, I'm still on your side. I believe that you're right, but maybe there's a chance. Anyway,
I know there's gonna be a lot of people who don't agree with that. Like, you could totally make a silent protagonist movie. Like,
how many? Yeah, name how many there have been and how good they've been. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head was Hardcore Henry, but that didn't even have a story.
Yeah,
You know? And that it wasn't even that good. That film made me puke. In case people don't know, it's from a first-person perspective. Anyways, have you guys managed to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes yet? Does it make you any more or any less excited about a Zelda movie? Let us know in the comments below. All right. That was not in our list of official things. We do have a list here. Not a whole bunch of big stuff. Obviously, like we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, things are going to be a little bit slow in terms of gaming news because it's coming up on the beginning of June, which is when all the big showcases are going to be happening, Summer Game Fest. But we do still have a few things that we're going to talk about. We're probably only just going to spend a minute or two on this one. But, it's fun kicking big corporations when they're down. Sybe, there was a little game that came out 2 or 3 months ago called Suicide Squad. Wait, when did it come out? Was it in March or February? Gosh, I don't even know times.
Was it this year? Was it last year?
No, it was this
I don't know.
Well,
I kind of don't know because I assume that there's only still less than 100 people playing the game.
Yeah, you know what? Do you want to guess what the number is right now? I actually had it.
I was actually going to pull up the Steam charts for it right now.
Yeah, last time I checked, it was 94.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's been sub 100 on a relatively like common basis for like months now.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
sorry. The game came out on February 2nd? Really?
Yeah.
It was over 3 months ago? Wow, it feels like it came out like a month or a month and a half ago. God, like I said, time's just flying by. Anyways, the game was a huge failure.
Massive flop.
Massive flop.
Cannot even like put it into words.
Okay, you know what? I can actually probably put it into words. With all the big failures that corporations have been making lately, like with the whole like Xbox shutting down Tango and Arcane last week. That's just the one that's off the top of my head, and that was a huge blow. And then we're talking about layoffs across the industry for the past few months. I'd still put this as the biggest flop. And you want to know why, guys? It's because according to a recent investors call with the Warner Brothers CEO and the shareholders, they revealed how much money that they've lost just in the past quarter. $200 million.
Just as an aside, They weren't the only ones. The numbers came out today for not today. This came out this week for Willow from Disney.
Oh God.
200 and some odd million
They
down the drain.
are you? How much money? How much money did they spend on that?
A lot, apparently.
Oh my God! For Will. For
Now,
Willow.
I love the original Willow.
Sure, everybody does.
It was one of, and I really thought that like this is the way to tell an interesting, different story that's not common. And then they had the follow up, and like I didn't even watch it. It was just reported to be so bad right at the get go. I watched about 10 seconds of dialogue, not 10 seconds. I watched about 5 minutes of dialogue, and I was like, wow, this is written very, very poorly. And it's sad because like it's like I know that there's the capability to write better. My
Yeah.
series has has a team of like young girls as the primary protagonists, and it hurts when I see projects like this where there was just no soul and no respect paid to the fans, the concept, the story. And again, this is exactly word for word the same for Suicide Squad. It's
Yeah.
and half a dozen other projects that you could name off the top of your head, where the people just that are in charge just they look at the average user, the average customer, and they go, "You're garbage. We don't care about you. We don't want you. You're nothing to us. We don't your idea of what this should be is stupid, and we're not gonna, and we hate you."
Yeah.
Right? Like it's this level of like, oh my goodness, why would you open with that? Like it's so bizarre. Like why would you open with that as your pitch? And again, it's like we're seeing this with Doctor Who this week. We're seeing this with, so many other things.
Mhm.
And the comparison to what we saw just a little while ago was Fallout coming out. There's people qualming, but we kind of like, especially on our
Yeah.
podcast between me and Ash, we kind of really we crushed the idea that no, they hate New Vegas. They hate the what the original Interplay and those people wrote and created. That's not true at all. And if you spend 5 minutes looking at what they've actually done instead of assuming that they're just everybody at Bethesda hates Obsidian,
Yeah, it's not true.
and it's not true. But what do they say in that shows? Like they respect the fans. It's like obviously they didn't have the biggest budget. Now they're gonna have a much bigger budget.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if they'd taken the budget for that stupid Lord of the Rings, which again, also in the news, just came out with a new trailer for the new Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
Season 2.
People aren't
You
happy.
take all that money and you put it towards something that people actually like a Zelda or like a Fallout. Obviously, it's like if you do it right, there's no limit to how much money you can make on the product if you just treat people with respect, if you treat the players, the lore, the reason that people fell in love with it was because the lore was well laid out and was methodically done and was well written. It's like that's actually really important.
Mhm.
And I hope that these studios learn this now. And for the ones that don't, I hope you get may all your releases be like Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, it seems that even though Warner Brothers is still going to pursue live service type stuff with their IPs, at least it seems like they're just limiting it to mobile, and they're not going to, let it touch any of their single player games or multiplayer games on consoles. But then again, the question is whether or not they're going to continue to pursue that. But I mean, they'd be stupid if they didn't, especially with Hogwarts Legacy and how big a success that was. But yeah, they lost $200 million, and we'll see if they learn. And thankfully,
It's still like, how is it that Hogwarts Legacy hasn't had an expansion or like new content put out?
I don't know.
And yet they threw what $400 million,
At
like
Rocksteady.
advertising included, at this stupid project that everybody just looked at them and said, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Are you crazy? Are you stupid? Please, like, blink twice if you're being held hostage by some crazed lunatic. Like,
Yeah, people. This is the prime example of how people who are in charge of the business of these large IPs are very often out of touch. Just
yeah,
remember to use this as the benchmark. Okay, moving on from that. Moving on to another company that, well, are they really losing money? I don't know. But anyways, EA. We're gonna be talking about EA. They
not
have
they're not hemorrhaging money,
right,
but they're not making it either.
right, and they are looking at
That's the
ways to
story.
try and reverse that a little bit. And we're going to be talking about some of the methods that they have in mind. Andrew Wilson, CEO of EA, spoke about generative AI as one element of trying to improve productivity and try to get games out faster. He spoke about it this week. I'm going to read a couple quotes from him. First, we've done analysis across all of our development processes, and right now, based on our early assessment, we believe that more than 50% of our development processes will be positively impacted by the advances in generative AI. And we've got teams across the company really looking to execute against that. He continues. And I would tell you, there's a real hunger amongst our developers to get to this as quickly as possible because, again, the holy grail for us is to build bigger, more innovative, more creative, more fun games more quickly, so that we can entertain more people around the world on a global basis at a faster rate. Now, he does have more stuff to say about other stuff, but let's just focus in on that for a second. So I think the best case scenario when it comes to them using AI is that they use it to speed up development on their games in, reasonable ways, and then use the extra time that they have to try and innovate. But let's be honest, that's not what they're gonna do.
No, and I immediately, like, again, if I was in that interview or somewhere in that, call that they had where they're going over their strategies and stuff, I just would have that kind of just like call it out, or just straight up call it out. It's like, you really, really, you have BioWare, who hasn't released a Mass Effect or Dragon Age game
In a decade.
for a decade. Really? That's your plan? That's your plan. Oh yeah, you're gonna come up with new games faster and better. And wait, didn't you just downscale that studio to almost nobody?
Right.
Like, we're talking like 200 people, 100 people. Like, really? Your plan is to come out with new games that people love. You know what game people love? Mass Effect. You know what a big game people like? Dragon Age. Where have you made, or where have you set aside, or where have you planned to do anything around anything to do with those titles?
Right.
Because right now, just looking at it, I mean, you fired your QA company that was associated with that studio. You like, because they formed a union. You've basically made it so that we most likely won't see another Mass Effect game ever. Like, one's under development, but it's under development by like 3 people in a closet.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's
Beyond
not...
Good and Evil 2 is in development, but
Oh yeah.
Half-Life 3 is in development. No, Half-Life 2 Episode 3 is in development. Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it.
It's and the studio head saying this, and the way that he said it, I can break it down. Bellular and a couple other people broke this down too, but I'll break it down too. What they say when they talk about the AI, when they talk about the ads, that kind of stuff, is they're answering because they have to, and they have to give an answer in a positive framework.
Yeah.
Because of the way that the concept of the stockholders works. If you're a car company and somebody is like, and another car company is like, we're working on flying cars with use of magnets and stuff like that. It's going to be amazing. We're using this ionic engine and all this kind of stuff. It's like if you don't have a plan for that shows very distinctly that you are working on something in that category, you can be charged with, dereliction of duty, breach of fiduciary duty, that kind of stuff. So you have one dude who is like, yeah, we're experimenting with anti-grav technology. What's he do? What does he mean by that? It means that every week he reads, some latest papers on the conceptual ideas and jots down a couple of notes, and then occasionally they'll get two guys into the room and go, well, what could we do with this? And they pass around some ideas, and that's it. And for some of this stuff, when they're talking about AI, when they're talking about the advertisements in games, which is the dumbest idea ever, what they're doing is they're just covering their butts, saying, "Oh yeah, we're working on this," when they're not actually working on it. There's no actual new concept or idea that they're working on that actually is going to make sense and is going to pull some cool stuff from things. It's like, no. They're working on this idea, this concept that doesn't really exist. But they have to be able to say that they do have somebody working on it, even if that guy is your weird Uncle Roger who, he's always in the back room muttering about something in the family business.
Yeah, he can't get a job anywhere else because he's a sex offender,
Yeah, or he's a, he critiques your rice all the time. This is just general things. It's like 10 points to whoever, anybody gets that reference. But that's the idea, is they're not actually working on this stuff it's super important. And this is also to say, what he's doing with regards to all these new brilliant IPs that he's working on. I honestly think at this point that he doesn't have a clue what he's doing or what EA is going to do. They've been coasting on lucky stupid success for so long that they don't actually have a plan literally for anything. And their profits have been they haven't crashed, but they're kind of they're kind of settling into this long maintaining basic flight kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's it. And yeah, we're gonna get Dragon Age this year, guys. Oh, we're gonna get Dragon Age. I hope, of course, because I have friends who work there. I really do hope that the next Dragon Age is a good game. Do I believe that it's going to be a good game? No. I'm sorry. I have no trust. Yeah. Part of it's been just the industry, the state of the industry for years, how long EA has just been an absolute garbage company, how many times they've rebooted this because they can't make up their mind on anything, and the fact that they have nothing under their belt that's remotely good in any way, shape, or form that's been released in the last decade. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like the one good product that they've had was a sheer fluke, and also really relied on gamers just giving them a pass and being stupid and falling for really dumb marketing.
Wait, what are you talking about? What game?
The one, the Fortnite ripoff one, or PUBG.
Oh, Apex.
One, whichever one you want to call it as. It's like they really did get lucky with that.
Sure.
They got lucky. It released at a kind of a perfect time. They had all these streamers hype it up, and then they did it. And I guess you could say the Jedi games that the last two ones they put out are,
but that's just all from Respawn.
Okay. But that's all from one studio that has been reportedly under the hammer of EA executives because they're upset that they're upstaging them, essentially.
Oh, boo frickety hoo.
I know,
Like, what?
right?
Okay, well, maybe you do something with your plethora of IPs. Like, oh, what are you doing to innovate with Battlefield? Oh, what
Yeah.
about Burnout? Oh, Crisis, Dead Space, Mirror's Edge. What are you doing with The
You could you could
Sims?
you could talk. We could talk for a day, like 24
Yeah.
hours on every studio they've closed, on every game IP that they're just sitting on and doing nothing with it. And it's like, all right, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, we have a plan. Oh, you have a plan, do you?
Yeah.
You have a plan. They don't have a plan.
Yeah.
They never had a plan. And I just want to call them out.
Sure.
The stupidity that they have been working with for years now, eventually it's going to come and get them, and I can't wait to see them fall.
I'm salivating for that. Although, hopefully, it's not at the expense of franchises like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. All right, and then finally, he had just on the issue of in-game ads, which Sybe sort of tangentially referred to there. He was Andrew Wilson. He was asked about the idea of putting ads into the games themselves. Here's a direct quote from him on that. As we think about the many, many billions of hours spent both playing, creating, watching, and connected, and where much of that engagement happens to be on the bounds of a traditional game experience, our expectation is that advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. We'll be very thoughtful as we move into that, but we have teams internally in the company right now looking at how do we do very thoughtful implementations inside of our game experiences. Ooh, I love that PR speak.
I love the stupidity of that too. Because anybody who's played a mobile game, you know, when you're playing a mobile game or you're on some kind of mobile app, every once in a while we have to download some stupid app from some stupid company because they want us to like sign in or log in with it. And they've structured it around a free thing, and somebody turned on ads. So you get these ads for, and it's just like it's the dumbest stuff ever. But yeah, can't you wait till you're playing the new Dragon Age game and you're interrupted every 5 minutes by by somebody like,
Did you know
getting
that Red Bull
shot
gives you wings?
yeah, or like, it's like play the latest shooter game here. It's so cool. Bang, 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 bang. Like it's just it's like, yeah, I was playing a game in which I'm being immersed into the lore, the universe, and then, oh, let me give you this vision, and it's just an ad for their next shooter game or the next football game. It's like, really, that's your plan? That's what we're gonna get? We're just gonna get this stuff like thrown at us, or are you saying that we're gonna get more billboards inside of your BS games?
Right.
Oh,
You know what? They're not, it's not just going to be this, but in an ideal world, if it was just, when you go to a sports game and like, there's like the screens just advertising, I don't know, Molson or whatever beer they serve in America. I don't drink alcohol, in case you guys couldn't tell. If they were to just do that for their Madden or their FIFA or whatever the hell it's called now, that'd be fine. But that's not what they're going to do. You're going to load up Apex, and then you look up in the sky, and there's going to be a billboard for Monster Energy or, I don't know, Harley Davidson. I don't know what the hell people playing those games care about. G Fuel. Anyway, yeah, it's just hopefully stuff like what happens with Dragon Age, if God forbid it fails, will just be more of a wake-up call to them, sort of like what I'm hoping Suicide Squad is going to be a wake-up call to WB. But come on, we're talking about EA. Still, they managed to make companies like Activision, Blizzard, and Konami look less evil in comparison. All right, moving on. Oh, God. Okay, we do actually have a good story we're going to save for the very end, but we're just going to have to talk about one more story about a evil corporation doing stupid crap. Sybe, Marvel Rivals. That's like the Marvel-themed game that's sort of supposed to be like Overwatch, but with Marvel characters, right? Do I get that right?
yeah.
Okay, What is the deal with that?
So it doesn't look good right now. It
Oh,
looks
okay.
like a take original release Overwatch and imagine if you were playing the beta version of it.
Oh man, I'd still
You
rather play
know,
that than Overwatch 2, but go on.
right. Things are choppy. They're not as smooth as they could be. The animations are kind of, and they're always making a reference to the latest movie that they were in as far as the characters go. Um, it's not great. It's not bad. It's not trash, but it's like it's not great.
Yeah.
If they charged $100 for it, it would be a laughing stock. If they gave it out for like $20 or if they had like a free to play thing, it's like, oh, well,
Fine.
maybe this
Sure.
is like fine, whatever. But here's this: they have added a non disparagement clause in their streamer and media access for the beta.
For the
As in, you had to sign an NDA stating that you swore you would not make a negative review of the company or compare it in any way, shape, or form to its competitors in a negative light. So this is access
Oh, the
journalism at its
hubris.
absolute worst.
Pure
And this
effing
is
hubris. Go ahead.
yeah, and this is a reminder. These companies don't like you. They don't care what you have to say. They don't care what your favorite content creators have to say. They despise the idea that they could make a game that isn't lauded as the best thing ever. These are people, and again, this is the Hollywood like taint coming in to destroy the fabric of this genre of this
Oh yeah.
entertainment medium. They think that no matter what they create, it's that it's good in their eyes. They have no ability to negatively critique themselves or to allow anybody else to negatively critique them. And we saw this again. Best example of this ever was the Batman movie. No, 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 not any of the recent ones. We're talking about the old one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and
Hey,
what's
you
his
shut
face?
your whore mouth. That movie's a goddamn masterpiece. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So you just have like when the director came out with that and he got all the criticism of like this isn't very good. Like this is like you took, you know, Batman as an idea as a concept and you just kind of like threw it against the wall in the worst possible way. But yeah, that's what these people are going for. It's like, don't critique us. Don't you dare compare us to competitors. And by the way, you have to sign an NDA so that we can sue you if you do. If you don't say, hey, go out and buy this game, this is
Aw.
the best thing I've ever played this month, then you are liable for damages.
Man, I wish they didn't include that because I was going to be inclined to like try and apply to be a part of that beta just so I can talk crap about their games and just be end up on their blacklist. Yeah.
I think just overall the stupidity again of just this the big cats in the room
Yeah.
thinking that they're above the average person. It's like you want to know why we're having so many problems with the industry, with the gaming industry. This is why. The leadership is rotten to the core. In most of these companies, these people are megalomaniacal. I don't know if that's an actual word. Idiots.
Megalomaniacal. Yep.
Yeah, they're megalomaniacal idiots. Just again, as a general experience, they're not good people. They're not smart people. They're not even good at what they do. They don't understand art. They don't understand games. They don't understand the industry that they're in. Yet somehow they keep making these ridiculous decisions. Oh,
Yeah, especially with Marvel. I think the most recent, well, no, not necessarily. It's sort of hit or miss with like the big console games. Like we obviously have Spider-Man, but I attribute that more to Insomniac because they're one of the best developers in the business as far as I'm concerned. Plus Guardians of the Galaxy, those were done well. But then you have games like Marvel's Avengers, and then you got this. And I just wonder why is it that they would do something like this now? And why sort of stand out amongst everybody else in terms of letting streamers and personalities get early access to games like this? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I don't know, maybe they just don't have as much faith in the product, but they have to market it and try to get people excited for it somehow. So, but they don't want people talking crap about it. So it's like, okay, we'll let you play the game early, but you can't talk crap. That's what that says to me, is that you don't have a whole lot of faith in your game, but you have to meet some sort of mandate by putting it in beta and letting people test it out. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Well, just means that's another game that I won't be wasting a lot of my time on. Man.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's a lot of people who were kind of, jonesing for that kind of like Overwatch game.
Sure. Like like, even though Marvel over the last 4 or 5 years hasn't put out the best stuff, there's still enough good stuff there that I would consider myself a Marvel fan. Like I just said, the Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy. And then, every once in a while, you'll get a Spider-Man No Way Home. Or, I personally really liked Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But then, every once in a while, you get movies like The Marvels or Thor Love and Thunder, which weren't all that great. But, enough good stuff that I consider myself a fan. But then when you do stuff like this, it's just, I don't know, maybe you're just going to continue putting out subpar stuff, whether it be in the gaming division or whatever. And it just doesn't really instill me with a whole lot of faith in your brand. Anyway, hopefully, I don't know, maybe they'll find, because we don't have an official release date for the game yet, right? They're just put it into beta. Maybe they'll do a Suicide Squad and just delay it for you. Oh, wait a minute. Anyway, sorry, I'm in a little bit of a catty mood. But finally, let's just move on to the last story, because I'm getting kind of tired. It's already past midnight, and I want to hear some good news. So, we're going to be talking about another big corporation, but they actually did something right. Syb, deliver people the gospel. Tell them the good news.
So Square Enix has made an announcement, has made 2 big announcements. One, that they're moving away from a solo console experience.
Good.
That they want to embrace putting their games out onto everything available. And my response to this is like, about time.
Freaking time, yes.
What kind of madman goes into office every day looking at a smaller and smaller and smaller, black line, of money? He's looking at his bank account shrinking every single week for months and months. This has been going on for years. And he goes, and some guy comes up and says, "Sir, if we sold to the other markets, if we opened up to sell the game to other markets, we could probably make quadruple to more money than we're currently making right now." And every single week he slams his fist on the desk and says, "Don't you talk to me about that stupidity. This is obviously the only way forward." And I am shocked I'm literally shocked that they had the sense to break this stupidity cycle now. Because again, you could take their, like, why the Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff isn't on Xbox, PC, and the Nintendo and everything else. Why don't they have this stuff on, like, cell phone game market? There's cell phones that can run this game. Why not? Like, why not?
Well, there are some of them
giving us money.
Well, no, they have put some of them on cell phones. Like, you can play the Pixel remasters and you can play Final Fantasy Tactics on those. But, it's not like you can play Final Fantasy 10 or 12 or the more recent good ones. Like, yeah. But I get your point.
If they put all of their old games, like Final Fantasy 9 and below, onto, like, just get an emulator working on Steam and on the Nintendo, it's like, I bet you they would probably make $500 million from just selling those games.
Well,
in a pack of, like, you get all of them in a pack. You get some, like, special, like, high res stuff like that. Again, just simple, basic, easy stuff that you could do right now.
Sure.
And you put you put all 9 games out, and you say, here's a collection. $60, you get to own these games on the platforms that you're buying. You can put it on an Xbox, PC, and the Nintendo Switch. If they did that tomorrow, I bet you they'd make probably about $500 million.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
bundle Final Fantasy IX with the Moguri mod, fix the stupid-looking faces in the Final Fantasy X translation, and yes, that would absolutely be great.
And that's not even to say about like the rebirth for Final Fantasy VII, like all of those entries that they've had multiples of them. It's like, why not put it on Xbox? Like, what is the possible reason you don't want another million sales at a bare minimum?
Right.
Oh, because we hate money. We have an allergy to money. You know, money is just it's just so good. What is your current problem? Oh, we don't have enough money. Like and again, Final Fantasy 16 was like, it was good from a perspective of like, you know, a gamer and, you know, a fan of the long running series and looking at, you know, how they're trying new things. It was good. It didn't make the money that they needed, and now they're being squeezed by Sony because you didn't sell enough copies. Well, can we sell it on Xbox? No, we have an agreement. Pray that we do not alter the agreement further.
Yes, we only allow half of the PS5s to be able to run the Final Fantasy. Which ones will run it? Which ones won't? We don't know. Do you want to play that? Yeah. Stupid.
And then the other good news that we got is that they've canned basically everybody who is not in Japan. Which again, some people will say they've closed down studios that are based in Europe, essentially. They're not closing them down. They're firing everybody and then relocating them to Japan and hiring people in Japan to work on the games.
I thought you just said they fired everybody in Japan. It's like, wait,
no,
that makes no sense.
They're firing everybody in Europe.
Gotcha.
Specifically, this is Europe. Specifically, I believe this is I'm not 100% on this. This might be the Forspoken studio.
Right.
Was that the one that was based in Europe, or was this? I'm not. Again, apologies. I'm not 100% on that. But it's like they basically said, yeah, we're done with this this idea that we need to become more like Western companies. And again, I really hope, because there's a big push for them for Japan to like become less Japanese in their manga, in their anime, and all this stuff.
Good luck.
And I hope, and I'm afraid, because I've heard big studio executives from Japan saying, yes, we want to try and embrace a bigger culture. Stop. You're the current number one, like, comics do not even compare in the slightest to the sale of anime everywhere in the world. That anime that people are buying, they're not buying it because it looks more like what they're used to getting out of the trough of Disney. You know, and DC. Like, becoming more like DC is right now, that's not where you want to be. They are not having a good, print is dead. No, it's not. Have you seen how much people are buying mangas? Like do you know how good that industry is right now? Like, it's mental to look at your competitor who you're outpacing and to go, hey, whatever you're doing, I want to do that. It's like a jogger or like a sprint runner or a marathon runner. Running, he's done the lap so much, he's done the race so good that he's coming up on the guy in last place. And the guy in last place is kind of hobbling along, and he runs up to him and is just like, hey, yeah, what's making you, like, what do you do to, get good at this? He's like, well, I take this, 22 pistol here, and I shoot myself, bang, in the foot. And then I gotta hobble more, but it makes me feel better about myself. and he's like, I'll try to shoot myself in the foot too. That will make this so much better. And again, we're seeing Square Enix move away from this, so I'm hoping that this sends the signal broadly in Japan to stop listening to what the foreigners who don't even buy your products are telling you about what would make them buy your products. Because here's a hint that the gaming industry has spent like 2 decades failing to learn. The people who whine and complain on the Twitter or the X or whatever you want to call it, those self-righteous, hypocritical pieces of online, they don't buy your products, and they never have, and they never will. It's like we've done this experiment 100 times. We have never seen it. So thank God that Square Enix is finally listening. There was this rumor that Square Enix was about to be bought by Microsoft.
No, really?
And I hope that there were some serious talks about that and some other stuff. And
I don't think that would ever happen, even if there were
talks.
talks.
What we're seeing is I think that the conversations, I think that what we can look at now, the conversations 100% happened.
Yeah, I'm sure there were conversations, but come on.
But what Square Enix has now realized after the release, just right around the release of 16, was that Sony wasn't actually on their side. Sony's been keeping them sort of like how people keep somebody that they've kidnapped in a hopes that, Stockholm Syndrome will settle in.
Yeah.
Because right now, again, Square Enix, you've left probably about 3 times what you've made in your entire existence on the table because of your alliance to a company who doesn't give a bleep about you.
Sure.
They don't actually care. They've never cared. And the whole game has always been to just hurt their competitors at your expense.
But I don't... It's fine. Maybe that is the logic that they're playing with. But I also think it's possible that, well, why do we expect that things would be different under Microsoft compared to Sony?
Oh, maybe not selling. That was the decision that they were never. That they realized when those conversations happened just after 16 and like before and in and around that period of time, they've come to realize that the actual platforms are not their friends. Microsoft isn't their friend, and PlayStation isn't their friend. Who their friend is the people who buy their damn games.
Right.
It's so shocking to me that they've been bending over backwards for decades to service Sony when Sony was never interested in their total overall success. It has always been what they are preventing other platforms from having. Because again, it's like if you put your games on 5 platforms and you get 5 times the sales that you were having before, there's the whatever somebody was telling you, only release it on our platform because we're exclusive and cool like that. That person is an absolute vampire who is bleeding off of you.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to sell out to Microsoft. I don't want them to form a deal with Epic to put the games on PC only through Epic. No, please stop all of this. Release it on every single platform that you have the technical ability to release it on and make money. You owe nothing to Sony. You owe nothing to Sony. They have been a dagger in your side for the past 20 years, bleeding you dry at the expense of your fans. The only people you need to worry about are your fans. That's it. Yeah. Move away from this. And they're finally getting it. With this move, with them saying, no, we're moving away. We're becoming more Japanese. We're becoming more of what makes our games good. We're moving away from Sony being able to tell us what we can or cannot have in our games because of censor this, censor that. And the writing's on the wall with all these other, with all this other stuff coming out, with all the censorship issues that we've been having lately, with all the control issues that we've been having. Still to this day, Helldivers 2 not available for sale in any country that does not have PSN network.
Yep. They didn't
Still
fix
to
that,
this day.
guys.
And we had a game developer who showed on a recent stream how easy it was to set the sale of a game for a region, for any of the regions that were on that list. He's like, I want to sell it to this region now. Boom. Overnight, done. In an hour. It took an hour and it was kicked on.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the stuff that's going on. That's the absolute trash that these big organizations, these megalithic companies have done. And again, I've never been a fan of either one of them in the sense of like being a console bro. I hate consoles.
Oh, sure. Oh, God.
Stupid.
Oh, there's the most.
I think
I almost said a bad word. Sorry.
Yeah, like they're good for people on a budget, absolutely, 100%. And I can understand the argument from like 20 years ago. I can understand the argument from like 10 years ago. But as we get further and further and further along into this, I can't understand the argument anymore. The consoles are costing about as much as you can get a good PC for. So why get a PC? Like why not get a PC over top of this console that is just limiting you from like so much stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the convenience of it, and I get that, but I think overall, and who was it? It was like Asmongold made a really good point about this today. There's nothing that the consoles bring you as an experience that a computer doesn't do. The only console that does something that is different is the Nintendo Switch and the Wii before that.
Yeah.
There was an actual reason to get the console and the controllers and that, because that's not something that a normal computer would be able to do for you at that price range. And I think that's the new argument. If the console can't give you something else that you can't have on a standardized PC at around the same price, like you're just why are you supporting these people?
Right.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I tend to agree. All right.
And this is what Square Enix has come to the agreement and realization of, and thank goodness.
And hopefully,
because
with the right leadership, they can make use of the IPs that they own. And thankfully, it seems like that might be the direction that they're going in. Final Fantasy is probably at the healthiest place that it's been in the last 10 or 15 years. Now, I say that with full knowledge that there are people that don't like Final Fantasy 16. I happen to really like Final Fantasy 16. And I'm also somebody who isn't huge on the way that they're handling the remakes, but I'm terribly happy for the millions of people that really do like the Final Fantasy 7 remakes, and I'm excited to see what they do with future remakes. Plus, they also have Dragon Quest and the aforementioned Just Cause, which they better get back to at some point. Oh my God. Nier, I think, if they could just have the right leadership, lead with Final Fantasy, and then build up all the other IPs back. Maybe get back to Parasite Eve. That'd be dope. Have something that can compete against the likes of Resident Evil. That'd be cool. Yeah. I think this is probably absolutely the right decision that Square Enix could take right now. And like you said, beside the writings on the wall in regards to stuff that's going on with Sony and Microsoft right now. And maybe in this Game of Thrones-esque situation, Square Enix might come out on top in a few years. We'll see. Even though I'm still not a huge fan of the way that they're operating. But, stranger things have happened. All right, guys. That does it for this episode of Maximum News. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm about to go and pass out. Make sure you hit the like button if you like this episode. It not only helps this video out, but all the other videos on the Triple S League channel. Leave a comment if you have any thoughts on any or all the things that Syb and I talked about today. Whether you have positive thoughts or negative thoughts, we do want to hear from you, provided you keep it civil. Syb, thank you so much for doing this with me. As always, man, you're the best. Anything you want to plug before we're done?
Not too much. We're a little bit under evacuation potential orders here, so because apparently a bunch of fires keep happening. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
never had this problem like when I've been here for many decades, and I never remember having this problem so bad as it's been recently. So
Yeah, we got to have a whole conversation about why that is, but that'd be like an hour long. It'd be anyway. Politics aside, and you guys can find me on all the regular forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I have a new video coming out tomorrow. That's no, today technically because it's 12:30 a.m. on the East Coast. It's going to be on Persona. Speaking of great Japanese video game IPs, might want to check that out. I reveal a whole bunch of secrets from that game series that a lot of people probably didn't pick up on. Make sure you check that out. All right, guys, that does it for this week. We will see you guys again next week. Until then, I want to remind you, as always, and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.